V'hi miktzei esrim shana, sherbana shlomo et shnei batim, et beit Hashem, et beit HaMelech. So in 20 years, that after the end of 20 years that Shlomo was building the two houses, the house of the Beis Hamikdash and his royal palace, Hiram Melech Tzor Nisa et Shlomo ba'atzei arazim ba'atzei broshim v'zahav v'kol chetzo v'zitenim Melech Shlomo l'chiram esrim ir be'eretz hagalil. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on this part. So you see what happens is Shlomo starts doing business, international business, big time. And there's this person Hiram from Tzur, so he brings to Shlomo all these valuable things, like valuable woods and gold and all kinds of things. And then Shlomo gives to Hiram 20 cities in the Galil. Okay. So V'yetzeg Hiram mitzor lerot et harim. Hiram went out to see the cities. They weren't good in his eyes. He didn't like the cities.
Compared to Tyre, compared to Tyre, like this is.
V'yomer ma ari me'ele shenatat li achi v'kra lehem eretz kavul ad yom hazeh. He said, "What are these cities gave me?" And the eretz kavul is like mud or something. Like he didn't like it, right?
What does it mean he gives them?
Okay, 1 second. So this is a trade. He's bringing him tons of stuff. He's bringing all the most valuable things in the world. There's massive trade going on here. And what's he giving back? He's giving back this land, apparently. Okay, 1 second. And then Hiram doesn't like it. This isn't good land. Okay, so what does that mean? So the question here is, Malvim asked the obvious question, you're not allowed to give land to non-Jews. Oh, sir. So what happened? So the answer is no, he wasn't. Hey, he wasn't giving land. He was showing him that out of all these lands, we'll have enough taxes to pay you back, for what you need. And then Hiram comes and says, no, it doesn't look like it's going to work. So they're going back and forth with the deals of what they're cutting, like massive deals. That's what's happening here. Shlomo's beginning to come into his world kingdom. Okay, and then he talks about Shlomo's building cities, and he's continuing to push back the nations and do what he needs to do to settle Eretz Yisrael. Okay, going further. Oh, no, so just Pasuk Kaf Dalet, it talks about how he'd married Bat Paro already. That was the first of his wife, Bat Paro. Bat Paro, he married a lot of wives, a lot of wives of kings. And the first one was Bat Paro. And they converted because Shlomo was a tzaddik, and he didn't transgress any transgressions. Probably, maybe later in his life, maybe
Too many wives.
Right. Okay. So that's the question. We're going to get to that. That's what I'm talking about. But he was a tzaddik. You see, I'll read you the what the Torah says about Shlomo Melech. You see that we learned before in Perek Gimel. Let me find it. It says he loved Hashem. The pasuk says Shlomo loved Hashem, and he went in the ways of David Melech. And you have constant psukim describing the tzidkas of Shlomo. And then we're going to have here a bunch of questions about his strength. So the first one here is this thing with the cities. So he didn't give them the cities. He gave him the ability to take from the taxes. He said, I'll pay you back with the taxes from these cities. And he says, no, I don't think it's going to happen. That's one discussion over here. Okay, now it says, now here's something which is already questionable.
Is there an actual mitzvah that you cannot give away land?
Yes, it's called lo sechinam. You will not, there's a mitzvah called lo sechinam, which means you won't find favor in their, you won't find favor in your eyes. When you're talking about non-Jews, you're not supposed to build up their charm. You're supposed to evaluate them as they are. You're not supposed to create like this charm. For example, give them gifts, all kinds of gifts, and for nothing. If it's trade, it's different, And also, 1 second. Also, it also means. Let me answer your question 1 second. And also, lo sechinam is a lesson of chaniyah. Lo sechinam, it means don't give them grace, chen, and also chaniyah means don't give them dwelling place in Eretz Yisrael. So they're both Asur. They're Yisur D'Oraisa. And people are not allowed to sell their houses to non-Jews, and that's the way it is. Okay. That's not what Shlomo did, obviously. Okay, fine. Now here it says, Akbat Paro Alta, we're in Pasuk Kav Dalet. Akbat Paro Alta Meir David El Beita. Asher Banala. Azbana etamilo. Now we learned before that he married Bat Paro. He built a special house for her. And here it says, she came from Ir David, and she went to the house he built for her, and it was in the Milu. So I can't describe the whole thing over here, but it means there was a place where Shlomo Melech, he opened it up from the house, the palace of the king, that would go directly into the Beis HaMikdash. He had these entranceways, and he was very connected to the Beis HaMikdash. We talked about that before. You know, the Beis HaMikdash is the palace of Hashem, and Shlomo's house, the palace of human beings, which parallels of the king of Israel, which parallels the palace of Hashem. So they were very deeply connected. Shlomo closed it up. He closed it up because he needed that place for building a house for Bas Para. And you're going to see, and later that's when Yeravam comes. One of the things Yeravam didn't like, that he says, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, you're going into your own thing. And David Melech had it all balanced. And it seems like it's going out of balance. Okay. So, going further. Going further, skipping. Let's go to I was talking about all the people coming and starting to do trade and bringing this international trade. Okay, now, Pasuk Aleph, Perek Yud. U'malchat Shva, Shamat et Shema Shlomo, L'Shem Hashem v'tavod l'nasoto b'chidot. So, how do you say that in English? Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba. One Medrash says it wasn't a woman, but it seems like it. Whatever.
Isn't she in Shir Shirim?
What?
Isn't she in
sure.
Shir Shirim?
It doesn't say Malchat Shva there. I don't know.
No, it doesn't say, but she says, I'm black.
Black. That's referring to Klal Yisrael. No, that's a muscle for Klal Yisrael.
Depends what Perush you take.
Well, that's a pshat. Pshat is referring to Klal Yisrael. The whole Shir Shirim is about the woman. The Kala is Am Yisrael, and we're black because of our sins. And then it's talking about what happens, how we do tshuva, and that's a whole much. That's what I think is, as far as I understand. Okay, let's go further. Because there's a few levels though. Anyway, so Malchat Sheva comes, and she heard the reputation of Shlomo, and she came to test him with chidot. Tavo Shalayim, Shlayima, v'chayil kaved ma'od. Gemalim nosim b'samim v'zahav rav ma'od ve'evan yikara v'tavo el Shlomo tveri lav et kol asher haya im levava. So this was a very amazing empress, apparently, assuming that it was, yes, a woman. And she had a vast empire from Ethiopia, wherever it was. And with Teman, okay. And she was very, very wealthy. And she also was a very wise, deep person. And so she heard about Shlomo, and she got fascinated. She heard about the great wealth and the great order in the kingdom of Israel. And she also heard about Shlomo's wisdom and his spiritual depth and his insight. And she was fascinated that she could be such a person. And she wanted to see it for herself because she couldn't believe it. And the Malbim explains in particular, what didn't she believe about it? She didn't believe there could be a person to be so spiritual and so philosophical and also so practical in knowing how to live in the world and build in a practical way. And she couldn't believe the two would go together. And she came to find out if Shlomo was really as people are telling her. So she comes to test him. She tests him with riddles. And she tells him how she's feeling, that she wants to know who he is and what she's heard, what she's hearing is amazing. She wants to see really what is true. Gate law Shlomo had called Devareha. So he told her everything. She would tell him these riddles, and it was impossible to really know what she was talking about unless you had some kind of a deeper, sort of divine sense, which he did. Shlomo Melech's wisdom was not regular wisdom; it was flowing from this divine source. And when she saw it, she realized that it was even beyond what she thought. It called Chachma Shlomo, Abayit Asher Bana. She saw all of his wisdom and his house. Umachol Shulchano Moshe V'Avadav, Maben Esharatav, Mabashehem, Umashkav olato asher yaleh Beit Hashem lo yaba od v'lo hayaba od ruach. So just like I described, she saw his great wisdom and saw his house, and she saw like how he maintained these vast populations. They came to his shulchan, and the way people dressed, and the royalness, and the beauty, and the aesthetics, and the order, and the wisdom, and how he bought korbanos like this, and how it was very spiritual at the same time. And it says she lost her ruach. She saw this way beyond anything that she thought of before. V'tomer el Melech, Emadi adavar sher shamati bartzi al devrecha bal chachmatecha. It was true what I heard. Everything was true. V'amanti d'dvarim ad asher bati v'tirena einat v'nei lo gadli hachetzi hosafta chachma v'tov el shmua sher shamati. She said, I heard about it, and I wanted to see it, and I came and I see that wasn't even half of what they told me. It was way more. There's like a divine wisdom here, which is beyond imagining. Ashrei neshecha, ashrei avedecha, ela omdim lefanecha tamid hashomim es chachmasecha. Hi Hashem Elokecha, Baruch Asher chafetz b'cha lesitcha al kisei Yisrael. B'avos Hashem es Yisrael. Yolam v'yisimcha lemelech lasot mishpat u'tzedakah. Okay, so she was extremely impressed with his wisdom of every sort, and she gave him these blessings. I want to tell you something interesting from the Chedush Rim, one of the first Ger Rebbe. First Ger Rebbe said that, what's the ikar of Hasidus? This is the early days of Hasidus. He says the ikar of Hasidus is you have a Rebbe who's a tzaddik, and you should elevate him to the Shemayim. Everyone should talk about him and realize that he's way more than you can imagine. And that's what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik is something that's way more than people can imagine. And because he's flowing from a different source. He's plugging into divine wisdom. So it goes beyond anything that we thought. So, if you see things that you don't understand, you have to realize that, of course, you see things you don't understand. They say a joke about that. There's a joke about this gabbai. This guy comes to see a Rebbe. He comes to see a Rebbe's tish. And there's a guy he's visiting. He's never seen it before. And he's standing next to the gabbai. Every time the Rebbe does something, he puts up his hands, and he looks with his eyes, and he starts singing, and he's talking, and this and that. Every time he asks the Gabbai, what's that? And the Gabbai tries to explain to him what he thinks it is. And in the end, the Gabbai turns to the guy and he says, listen, if I do that, I would be the Rebbe. Anyway. Okay, so you start to see the picture of Shlomo Melech. It was something that there was never such a thing before or after. In the balance of like wealth and beauty and binyan, everything was built up, and art and culture and deep Torah wisdom, and all these things mixed together. Titan Melech and business, building up. Titan Melech, Me'av Esrim Kikar Zahav, Uvasamim Harbe Ma'od Ve'evan Yakara, Loba Kavosem Hahu Ad Larov, Shernat Lam Malchashva Melech Shlomo. She gave him all these spices and gold and silver and all these things they gave it. V'gam ani chiram asher nasa zahav. Also, there were ships. They were doing ship trades, and Shlomo got into the ship trades. He was going all over the place with ships. They were importing and exporting. They were bringing in all these fancy woods. Yud Gimel v'melech Shlomo natan lamalch shva et kol chefza asher shalai. He gave the Malch Shva everything she wanted back. Like how do they do business? They didn't say, I'll buy this for such a price. Let's cut a deal. They would just do it like gifts, like massive gifts from one empire to the next. Right? You hear this? And she gave it. They brought in like instruments from this fancy wood and all kinds of stuff. And Melech Shlomo natan lamalch shva et kol chefza asher shalah. Levad asher natan lach karamelech Shlomo v'tefen teilcha arza hi v'avedeya. So he gave her everything she wanted. And so, okay.
Yud Gimel?
Yeah, that was Yud Gimel. Now, Yud V'him Mishkal Zav Asher Ba L'Shlomo Sh'nat Echad Sheish Me'el V'shishim Shiv. So the amount of gold that came to Shlomo was gigantic. So we had this massive trade going on, and building up relationships with the nations.
What was the relationship with Plishtim like?
Plishtim were like pushed out. They were bad. They were always bothering us.
Yeah, no.
David suppressed them.
Yeah, David did a good job of putting them out. And
But since that, they were
also,
fine.
yeah.
They were like,
Okay, just give me a second here. I'm gonna talk about a lot of things. Okay, so it goes on. It describes his wealth, describes his trade. Keeps going, describing the trade.
you know how much a talent is? A talent of gold?
No.
Approximately
Okay.
64 pounds.
So it says, if you look, okay, look at Pasuk Kaf Gimel. Jump to Kaf Gimel. I have to do the overview on Sundays. Vigal Melech Shlomo Mekol Malchei Haaretz. Shlomo became greater than all the kings of the land. La'oshel l'chachma, for wealth and for wisdom. Kaf Gimel. Mekol Haaretz Mevakshim et Pnei Shlomo l'shmoa et chachmato. All the land was seeking out Shlomo to hear his wisdom. Shenatan Elokim b'libo, which Hashem gave in his heart. Him avim ish min kato klei kesef klei zahav. Uslamot, Veneshek, Uvasamim, Susim, Pradim, Varshanabs, they would constantly be flowing into Eretz Israel from all over the world, coming to see Shlomo's his wealth and his wisdom, and the combination of both. And they would all bring all these gifts, and they would go back with gifts as well. Yosef Shlomo Rechav Parshim Vihilo. He also made a vast army, and he made a vast military. And as a result, he had peace his whole life. Nobody bothered him. They were afraid no one would start up with him. He was so powerful. And that was his main method of maintaining peace, having a good, strong army, as Winston Churchill said.
That's also a prohibition? The king should not have too many horses?
Oh, so we're going to see that. I'm going to go into that now. And that's the next part. Yeah. So here it is. So, yeah, V'yosef Shlomo Kavav, Rechav Parshim, V'hilo Elef Arba Me'ad Rechav, U'shnei Masar Elef Parshim, V'nag Ba'ari Rechav, V'yamelech B'Yerushalayim. So he had all these horses, like you said. He had chariots. How many? He had 1,400 chariots, and he had 12,000 riders, armed, mounted soldiers, and he had tons of horses, and he had tons of army in this and that. V'yitei Melech et kesef Yerushalayim ka'avanim v'et ha'arazim natan k'shikmim asher b'shvei l'brav. There was so much kesef he was investing in Yerushalayim. V'motzei susim asher l'shlomo Mitzrayim, etc. It goes on, describes the kesef and the susim. Okay, and then it goes to a third thing. It goes to the Nashim. Then Shlomo also has very big hasagas in everything.
Hasagas?
Concepts, like, yeah. Melech Shlomo Ahav Nashim, Nachriot, Rabot, Yud Aleph. And the King Shlomo, he loved Nashim Nachriot, women, non-Jewish women, many of them. That Bat Paro and Bat Paro. In other words, she was connected to all of them. She was the first one, and that was the biggest empire, Mitzrayim at that time. Moaviot, Amaniot, Adomiot, Sidoniot, Hittiot. All kinds of foreign women. They were all converted. The Rambam says clearly, everyone says it, that they were all converts. Shlomo didn't do sins like that. In the Goyim Asher Amar Hashem El Bnei Israel Lo Savo Behem, from the nations that Hashem said you won't go in them, Heim Lo Yavo Bechem, and you won't go in them. So he also took from the nations where it said about them that you won't intermarry with them because they'll pull you away. And Shlomo did. So that part, I don't have an answer for yet. The Malbim says, it seems like maybe he did that sin of marrying into the nations where you're not allowed to marry them. So that seems to be a mamish sin. Although I don't know.
It seems like if you look at the map, it's like in the middle. It's like a thoroughfare.
Right, but some of them are from the 7 nations. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like if you look at, I don't know where Moab is.
Moab
is Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. Sidon is like Tyre
Lebanon.
today.
Lebanon, yeah.
Hittite is like southern Anatolia.
Syria.
It's like to have a big network of roads.
Like our immediate neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, all right. That's for sure he's doing. Okay. We're going to talk about this. Give me a second. I'm just building this up.
I mean, you could conquer those lands. So it would be with all those.
Okay, but Shlomo,
chariots.
he could. That's right. That's how Shlomo was doing. So let's go further. But there's a little bit of a question over here. The Malbim says that there seems to be a chet over here. Okay, at least at some point. Okay, but in general, it's he didn't do revealed sins pretty much. I know this might have been later. Okay. How many women did he have? How many wives? He had an amazing number: 700 wives and 300 plagshim. A plagish is like a wife without a ketsuba. It's like a lower level.
Only 300.
Yeah. Oh, so let's keep going listening. The time of his old age, so his wife tilted his heart. They pulled his heart away. After foreign gods. His heart was not perfect with Hashem like the heart of David, in the end at least, when he's old. Even though he married them when he was young, it's not like they didn't pull his heart away from the straight way in the beginning, but later it did. Shlomo went after these idols, it sounds like, from these foreign gods. Shlomo did the bad in the eyes of Hashem. He wasn't full after Hashem, full heart after Hashem like David. He built a bama to this Avodah Zorah, it sounds like, in Moab, the Shikut of Moab, not in Moab. And also so he built these bamas for these Avodah Zorah, it sounds like. And that's what also for all of his wives, that they were doing sacrifices for all of their God. Okay, so now let's stop here. I want to go back and discuss all this. So first, let me just right here say that what the Chazal say about this is, if he did this was really bad, and it doesn't sound like he did this. He's not considered that he went off the derech. Although it says it tilted his heart, but what it probably means is his wives did it. It sounds like that in the pasuk also. You see, it says in the end, that they were sacrificing to Hashem, but it was really the wives did it, and Shlomo didn't stop it. So the pasuk makes it sound like Shlomo did it himself, because that's the way the pasuk looks at it. In other words, like he should have stopped it. His responsibility. Yeah. So that's what it is. That's the extent of the sin. Okay. We'll talk about it a little more. I want to get back to some of it. There's a great depth over here. Okay, so let me go back a step. So you see, first of all, let me tell you the pasuk. Pasuk like this. Now, all these things are an Isser, which Shlomo did, what he seemed to have done. Sum tasim alecha melech. The pasuk says in Devarim, you'll make yourself a king. Sheyivchar Hashem elokecha bo, which Hashem will choose. Rak lo yibeh lo susim, you won't have too many horses. V'lo yashiv et ha'am Mitzrayimah. He won't bring people back to Mitzrayim to get horses, because that was the place where you get the great horses. Nashim won't have too many women. That will turn his heart away. He won't have too much money, too much silver and gold. Okay, so there's the three things that Shlomo did. He did all those things, and yet he's considered one of the greatest chachamim, greatest tzaddikim. He didn't just, if you think about your average major Talmid Chacham of our time, Shlomo was not. He was way above that, right? So you have to figure out what this means. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit. One second. I want to.
I think like the Mishnah talks about like in Sanhedrin where
it's in Sanhedrin, yes.
It talks about it's also bad if you have one woman that takes your heart to the bed.
Oh, very good. Okay, nice.
So he maybe was confident. Okay, I'm a tzaddik.
Exactly. Okay.
700 women. And
will
be okay for me.
The question is, why did he do that though? That's also a question. But very good. Okay, let's get to that. So let me explain first a little background here. The background's like this. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says like this: Gimel mitzvot nitztavu Yisrael b'knisatan laaretz. There are three mitzvahs were commanded to Israel as they came into Eretz Yisrael. Number one, lahamid lehem melech, first to make a king. Two, lakwit zaro shel melech, to cut off the seed of Amalek. And the third thing is Livnot Beit HaMikdash. Okay, so what are the three mitzvahs? The first mitzvah is that you have to unify the Am and create a Melech. That Am Yisrael did over a very long period. We spoke about this. Throughout Shoftim, they're moving towards it with a lot of difficulty, trying to bring the Am together, that there will rise up a king that the nation will all recognize and unify the nation. That's the first step in creating Am Yisrael in its perfection, is making a king. So basically, David HaMelech did that. Shaul didn't do that. Shaul was the introduction. He laid the ground for it, but he was not the successful king. He was unsuccessful in the end. He was successful in starting the process. But the David HaMelech actually had the full support of Am Yisrael, and he was full scale Melech. David HaMelech brought Malchus to Am Yisrael in its full sense. That was number one. And now also, David HaMelech he went and sent Yoav to cut off Amalek. And he did that in a very large way. David HaMelech also did that. That we had that in Moab. And the order is like this. The first thing is bringing Klal Yisrael together. Like bringing Klal Yisrael to its fullness. Klal Yisrael in Galut, even if they're keeping mitzvahs, is not the full thing. Klal Yisrael with this great achdus in Eretz Yisrael, with wealth, with society functioning at its highest level, with Torah integrated into all of it. That's the goal of Am Yisrael. Okay. Now the second thing is it's not just about Am Yisrael; it's about the world. So the second thing is now once there's a king and he's strong, then he has to go and destroy Amalek, because in order to reach out into the world and the influence of Am Yisrael should go out. So in the evil of the world, which is brought so much through the Amalekim, that has to be destroyed. Because as long as you have these Amalekim filling the internet, filling the minds of people, so then you have a world full of evil and complexity and plotting and all kinds of terrible things. And so the second thing is to destroy the seed of Amalek. That's the second thing. And that's moving order to the universalism of Am Yisrael. And the third thing is, and this is the combination of the two, is to build a Beis HaMikdash. When you have a Beis HaMikdash, first of all, that brings Am Yisrael, even it brings up the level of our mitzvot, of our midot, brings us to higher achdut, but also it's for all the world. The fact that the Beis HaMikdash should exist in the middle of Am Yisrael, and has all of its level of kedusha, and the whole world knows about it, that's what elevates the whole world to become unified in serving Hashem. Okay, so therefore that's the third. So what happened is when Shlomo Melech came into the Malchut, the first two things had basically been set up. We had a king and we cut off Amalek. And now the thing to do was to build the Beis HaMikdash, which means to bring out the influence of Am Yisrael into the whole world.
He had that sorted too.
So he built the Beis HaMikdash. Pardon?
Yeah.
So he built the Beis HaMikdash, and now Shlomo Melech was this person who had this big goals. He wanted to bring Hashem to the world, and the world to Hashem. And he grew up with David HaMelech. David HaMelech was the Melech Yisrael. He had both things he was doing both. But he only started the process. He didn't even build the Beis HaMikdash yet. But Shlomo Melech built the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, his job was not only to build the Beis HaMikdash, is to be mashpia on the whole world. So now he has a job. How do you mashpia on the whole world? It's a big world. And people are all very caught up in their own limitations. And a person can only see what his thoughts show him. How do you show him the big picture of Malchus Shemaim? There were idol worshippers, etc. So Shlomo's plan was, this is the vort that I learned from this Sefer here, is I'm going to marry all the wives of the kings. Marry the wives of the kings and the important people around the world, and that's how I'm going to get to them. And there's a precedence for this. For example, take Shechem ben Chamor, right? So he marries Dinah, right? And then what happens is, Klal Yisrael has influence on them. They say, yes, you can marry Dinah if everyone gets a bris. So you see that's not my point. My point is that how through marriages influence comes. So they're saying, yeah, sure, if you want to marry her, then it's good, but you have to get a bris milah. That was the plot. But what you see there is that through marriages you can start to have a king can influence his whole nation. Just like Shem convinced all of them to get a bris milah out of nowhere. Right? And now even a bigger example is the Melech Huzar. Happened there was this one king that started looking for the truth, and he found the Chachmei Yisrael, and he converted, and the people around him, he taught them, and they went underground for a while, and gradually they were able to give it out to the whole nation converted to Judaism. So you see, if you get to the kings, that's how you get to the whole world. And so that was Shlomo's idea. That's the story here. So Shlomo, why did he marry all these women? Like, what's the point of that? He was a tzaddik atzum. Nobody needs to marry that many women. And what is he doing? So the answer is, it's not politics. It's something else. Someone would say that it was a politics. Somebody said that one of the Meforshim. But you see that it's not. He didn't do it like that. He didn't. He wasn't. What's the proof that it's not like that? He wasn't. For example, he wasn't finding. He wasn't getting security through that way. His security was a vast army. If he was trying to make deals with the nation so they would have peace with them, so then what do you need a vast army for? So it wasn't because of that. It wasn't in order to have military alliances or political alliances like that. It was in order to be mashpia, or to put out the Dvar Hashem to the whole world. That's the idea here. That's the Kiddush and Sefer. I think it's a beautiful. Like you look at the way Shlomo was. I want to read you some of the sources about why this makes a lot of sense to who Shlomo was. Let me first read it from the pasuk in Yeshayahu. What's the goal for Am Yisrael and for humanity? It will be in the end of days that it'll be established, the mountain of the house of Hashem at the top of the mountains. It will be higher than the hills. All the nations will come pouring to the Beis HaMikdash. And they'll come, many nations, and they'll say, come, let's go to the mountain of Hashem. El Beit Elokei Yaakov. He'll teach us his ways. We'll go on his paths. Because out of Zion comes Torah. So the goal is, that's going to happen in the end of the days. All the nations will come to the Beis HaMikdash, and they're going to get guidance from there. So that's what Shlomo wanted to happen. So it's interesting that he had an idea how to make it happen. I'm going to take the daughters of the kings of the world. I'm going to have a marriage alliance with them. And through that, the Mechutanim will come, right? The parents of all these wives, who are the kings of the world, they're going to come to see Eretz Yisrael. They're going to see the Beis HaMikdash, and they're going to go back home, and they're going to bring everybody to Hashem. That's the idea here.
Messianic.
This is Messianic, yeah. An example of that is Machshava, which we just saw. She comes, she wants to see what's going on. It also explains the great wealth that Shlomo was investing into.
If he had great wealth, why did he give Hiram those lousy cities?
I don't know. Hiram didn't like them. They were good. They weren't lousy cities.
They didn't look.
He didn't see that he was going to get the tax.
Why
money.
didn't he give them I don't know
He didn't give the cities
gold?
also. It was part of his deal. He's doing business. But anyway, so why did he invest so much in Yerushalayim and in the framework, building gold and palaces and buildings, and all the people were wealthy. Like a lot of people were wealthy. He was pouring out wealth into the Am. It was amazing. Why was he doing that? Because the world is impressed by that. It's amazing. Like people will come just to see the wealth, and then they come, they see the wealth, they see the wisdom, and they see the Beis HaMikdash, and like that, he was mashpia on all the world. I'm going to read you something here from Rav Kook.
Beis HaMikdash wasn't the biggest temple in the world.
Right. It was the most divine. And the symbolism was the highest. So, let me read you something Rav Kook. What Kook says here. Rav Kook talks about Shlomo Melech. What's up on that? Okay, listen to Rav Kook's words. Ve'eshahu shar shirat nafsho. There's one person that sings the song of his soul. Ve'eshu shar shirat ha'uma. Some sing the song of the nation. Ve'esher od yitrachev nafsho ad sheyotze mitpashet me'al Yisrael l'shir et shirat ha'adam. He goes beyond the nation. He goes to the song of human beings, of humanity. Ve'esher od l'malam ezeh v'rochev yitnaseh Ad shemitached im kol hayakum kulo. And then the person goes beyond all of humankind, and he goes to unify with all of the creation. V'yesher ola im kol hashir malalu b'yachad b'rugura achad. And there's a person that goes with all these shirim together. The shir of his soul, the shir of the nation, the shir of all humanity, the shir of all of creation, and he brings it all into one shir, one song. Shir nefesh, shir ta'uma, shir ta'adam, shir ta'olam. The song of the soul, the song of the nation, the song of the Adam, the song of the world. For tamimot hazot, b'milua, olahi liot shirat hakodesh. And this purity of song becomes the song of Kodesh. Yisrael, Shir El. Yisrael, one of the remes in the world, Yisrael is Shir El. We sing the song of Hashem. Shir Pashut, Shir Kaful, Shir Mashulash, Shir Muva. There's 4 levels of the Shir. Each one is adding on another layer, right? Shir Nefesh, Shir Ada, Shir Yisrael, Shir Adam, Shir Abriya. And you have 4 levels of Shir, and those all combine together to make an ultimate Shir. Shir, Shir, Mesher, L'Shlomo, L'Melech, Shalom. So that's the Shir HaShir. It contains all the Shir. So that's what Shlomo was like. He was like bringing out the oneness of the whole creation. The oneness of the soul, the Shir, the song of the soul, the song of Am Yisrael, the song of all of humanity, the song of the Kol Bria. Okay. So that's the first thing. It's the idea of it's a very fantastic idea here. You can't say that. So also in the Shitas, it's like you said Shushan before. In the Gemara says that even though it says he won't have a lot of wives, right?
He won't have?
He's not allowed to have a lot of wives. So there's opinion here. There's one opinion he can't have more than 18. That's one opinion. That's Tanakama here. Rabbi Shimon Omer, afilu achad mesir et libo horzel liyisa'ena. Even one, and she turns his heart away from the Torah, he shouldn't marry her. In other words, even if she's mistaken, but she turns his heart away. So basically, it's almost just like you said. Why do you have a lot of women? He was confident. He was such a high level. He realized that he felt that it's not going to take him away, and that's not transgressing the Isra. It's the same thing with the kesef, same with the horses. It's all. Also, it says here, Rabbi Yossi. It's from the Gemara also. It's in Hedron. No, it's from Yishalmi. Yes, in Hedron Yishalmi. Rabbi Yossi Amar Lamoshchan LeDivrei Torah LeKarvan Tachas Kanfesh Kina. So he says what I just said. It's in the words of Rabbi Yossi Tana. He's why did he marry all those wives? To bring them near to Divrei Torah, and to bring them under the wings of the Shechina. So it's in the Shas, it's in the Chazal. So that's why he married all those wives. So and he was confident it wouldn't turn his heart away, and in the end it did. So he was like too universal. He was too universal. He went too far in his universality. He wasn't ready to do it. He went too fast and too far. So it turned him away a little bit. In other words, he allowed them to do Avodah Zorah. So that's the idea. And also the kesef thing also. You see from all the sources of Rambam and everyone else, like kesef, you don't, both the kesef and the susim, if you pile it up for yourself, to feel important. Like people have their cars, and they feel important their cars. It's like that, that's the Isser. But if you have a lot of horses in order for your soldiers and for your functioning, so there's no limit to that. That's pashut. And also the gold and silver is also like that. If you have it in if you put it in the treasuries for yourself, for your great feeling of having all this wealth, that's usher. But if you have vast casks of gold and you're building up Am Yisrael, so it's all mutter. So all these things, he didn't transgress them literally. He took a chance. He took a chance. And in the end, it was he stumbled.
It doesn't sound like she was a problem, but all the neighbors, the Moabites,
not Bathsheba, you mean Malchut.
Sorry.
Bathsheba was his mother.
Queen of Sheba.
Yeah.
And the far away, if they were far away.
That wasn't his wife, though. He didn't marry her. It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that.
No. She was just a visitor. Okay, so that's what I want to say with that. It needs, obviously, I have to bring you more proofs and show the depths of it. But Reb Tzadok says that he was perfect. Reb Tzadok Cohen, like the great Rebbe Reb Tzadok, he says he was like unbelievably perfect. That was his only fault. He's too perfect or something like that. So it's very, very interesting. This.
Coming back to the pasuk Zayin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the women, the wives are doing the worshipping, but it's Shlomo that built the palaces for
Right. For
Well, why are they building it?
the palaces for what?
for these foreign idols.
No, not palaces. The bamot.
High places.
High place. That's where they made the sacrifice. But it says he did it. But afterwards, what does it say afterwards? Keep reading.
The wives.
So the way he explains it is that's what really was happening. First, the pasuk says he did it, and then it says it wasn't really him. It was really them doing it. It didn't stop that. That's how you would read it according to this pshat. Because if he was building bombas to Vodazora, then that would be really
I can
bad.
ask with
Right,
what
I'll get.
like what reasons were the wives using? Like they went to Shlomo, can I have like
Could be, okay.
2,000 kilos of gold? Okay, sure, go ahead. They build whatever.
He says over here also that it also brings the idea. The Malbim brings this that someone who's so wise. He had such depth of wisdom. He was even like helping them to bring down with various non-Jewish sort of mystical methods, meditations, things like that. He was helping his wives to have all these lofty experiences. He was interested in that. He was doing it all Shem Shemayim, but it was on the edge.
Well, I think maybe they were more chacham than he was. He was a genius, but in terms of the women, not so much.
Well, he managed to do that. He got this influence of the whole world through the women. So that's what he was really about.
Wondering the psukim don't make any distinction when it talks about like so it was when Shlomo grew old, his wives swayed his heart after the gods of others. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make a distinction between any of his wives. Like it sounds like it could even have been like any one of the wives, even just even one wife.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hear that. I mean, it sounds like a lot of them were doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But isn't that like the case that our neighbors are the worst? Our neighbors, like the closest.
Well, he was.
The worst Avodah Zarah was in Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's like right next to Israel.
Shlomo was elevating all of it. In the time of Shlomo, the whole world was being elevated. It was moving towards Mashiach. That's the idea here. And later you'll see. Okay, I'm going to stop here a little bit. I only touched on some of the ideas here. It's really very interesting. What happens later is Shlomo starts to get enemies. And on not only the enemies comes the Navi. It comes the Navi, the worst enemy. He's actually
Ben Shiloh?
yeah. Achia ben where is it? 1 second. Yeah.
Shiloni? Shiloni?
Achia ben Shaloni, yeah. So, but what happens is one of his biggest enemy is Yeravam ben Nava. So he's a very talented guy. First, Shlomo gives him a powerful position to build and stuff like that. But then this Yeravam, so it sounds like he was an interesting character, and it seems like he was like good, had good intentions, and he was bothered by Shlomo's like overreaching qualities. He didn't like that he closed up the connections to Beis Hamikdash that Shlomo had made, that David had made, and he was upset at Shlomo's overreaching character. So he started to get against him. And then comes the Navi, and he tells him, "You're right." And he goes and does the whole. You guys learned it already. He tears up the beged. He says 10 shvatim are going to go to you, and only the one shevet is going to go to David HaMelech, 1.5, whatever it is. And so that's what Hashem took it away from him. And he was supporting this Rav Ben Navid. Rav Navid, he didn't do well with it, but it wasn't necessarily like that. It could have been better. But so he went really bad in the end. But the idea is that the opposition was from Hashem because of Shlomo's shortfall. He wasn't okay against his wife. Okay, I really just touched on a lot of things today. Okay.